This is Don't Panic, episode number 190, recorded January 22nd, 2018. You pick the news. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Don't Panic, the technology podcast on Gadgets and You. I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by my two co-hosts, a couple of guys who were eating Tide Pods way before it was cool, Colby Rabidoux and Dan Miller. What's going on, guys?
Just to clarify, I've never eaten a Tide Pod.
I don't, Colby, I don't know.
I actually never used a Tide Pod. Have either of you used a Tide Pod? I've used like the dishwasher pods.
I used to be a big Tide Pod guy. In college, it made a lot of sense because you don't like lugging.
Yeah, this whole
around.
time I've been assuming it was the dishwasher pods.
No, so the dishwasher ones have been around for a while, but the laundry ones were new a couple years ago, and so it's laundry detergent.
So they existed when we were in college?
They were like brand new around that time, and I was like, yes, I want some of this. And so I was using the pods for a little while at that point. I don't use them anymore because I just think the liquid's a little more convenient with what I'm doing now, but they seem to work okay. They were just a little more expensive than just using the straight up liquid. So if you have a dedicated laundry space, I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
I see.
But they do look delicious. They look like candy. They really do. They make them brightly colored. And like if someone made a candy version where it was filled with like, some kind of liquid sugar candy, like those would be so much fun to eat. I'm not going to lie.
Aren't they big?
They're like, they're about that big. I mean,
That's a robust candy. That would be like special occasion
It
candy.
is, but the fun is...
It's like the Cadbury eggs that you only get at Easter time.
Yes. I love it.
Right. It's like too good. It's too good for normal, everyday consumption.
Oh, totally. No, we need to make a candy company that makes laundry detergent packets but full of candy. And then they burst in your mouth. It's fun. And don't poison you, which is extremely important.
You don't die.
That's the important part.
Yeah. I'd prefer not to die.
And that's what I hate about these trends is I've had more than one, I will say, older person come up to me and say, are people really doing that? And I have to explain to them that while some are, most are not.
Right, like 7 people did that.
Basically, it's like one of those local news stories where it's like, all the kids today, they're all eating, and they're like, do people really do that? And I go, sadly, some.
They're all doing PHP.
Yes, those local, what was it, for a while they were huffing cat urine. It was like all these weird sort of...
In New York, that's a delicacy.
That's good to know.
It's like that, is it that coffee that the coffee beans that are digested by cats
cat
or something?
Coffee.
The civet cat, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Turns out the pea's pretty caffeinated also.
Well, you don't want to know where those cronuts have been. But anyway. So
I don't call them a cronut for nothing.
There you go. So what's going on with you guys? Anything new?
Nothing. I'm halfway through. Well, a little more than halfway through my week of fun employment.
That's right. I should have done up a bumper graphic and audio. Unemployment watch. Week 2. You hanging in there?
Unemployment in the Colby household has rose 100% over the weekend.
Well, and now actually the folks at home, if you're watching the video version, you can see Colby's rearranged apartment.
It's true. That's one of the things that I did. I bought some shelves. I finally finished the Don't Panic episode upload form. So now it works all the way.
We've been uploading these things bit by hand. I don't mean chunk by chunk. I mean bit by bit.
Right. It was artisanal.
Yeah. Yes. We've gone mass production.
Yeah. So for better or worse, we're an automated shop now. Robots are taking our jobs.
Right. So
as they should.
If you get 100 episodes uploaded into your feed, you know why.
All of a sudden, there's one like every 5 minutes. You're like, no, too much.
Yeah, that was good. I think today was the first day that I got the first like inklings of boredom.
That's a pretty good run, though.
I think so. And I think ideally, like by the end of this week, I'd like to be
bored.
Right. right, bored and like ready to do something, to have some external scheduling. So pretty good on that front, I guess.
Have you finished Fallout yet?
No, I actually haven't played any video games.
I thought you had said you just restarted Fallout.
I did just restart Fallout, but in my time off, I really haven't played any video games. Which sounds crazy.
You're doing unemployment very badly.
You would do. Right. It seems like exactly what you would do when you have 2 weeks off to do nothing. But I haven't done.
Said Colby does productive things.
Weird, right? It's like it's relaxing when
There's no
weird
pressure.
way, when you don't have to. Like it's just satisfying. It's all the satisfaction of achieving things without any of the resentment for being obligated to achieve them.
That's right. That's right. When there are no expectations,
right,
it's that much more fun. Which is how we treat this show, a show with no expectations. Gosh, we're just hard on ourselves tonight, aren't we?
Brutal.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. What's new with you guys?
Well, I'm wearing a hat tonight.
Yeah, what's the deal?
I was going to ask about that.
You know, we've done 190 episodes. I figured I might as well wear a hat on one of them. I see you guys did not get the hat memo. No, I'm supporting my local Springfield Thunderbirds. Yes, that's it. He gets it. Our America's favorite minor league hockey team.
Oh, they're a hockey team?
They are playing right here in Springfield, Massachusetts. The affiliate team to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Thunderbirds. So I went out. I saw them play the other night, which was fun right here in Springfield at their little mini arena. It's very small, but that was fun. Seen some hockey in person.
Any fights?
Yeah, a couple fights. I wouldn't say they were great.
Really?
I wouldn't say they were great, but yeah, there were 2 or 3. One of them was real good.
Bananas.
Some dude I think broke his hand, so that was fun. And the action, it was high score. It was like a 4-3 game, so it was high scoring. And actually, one of the goals was ESPN's top play of the day in the whole country. So that was neat as well. So fun to get out. I know people who listen to this show are big into sports, so got to represent. I got my Hartford Yard Goats hat is somewhere else. Maybe I'll wear it next week. Yes,
that one. That's quite a mascot.
It is.
I think we've talked about the Yard Goats before, so I'm sure we don't need to do it again. But damn,
they are fun.
It's like the pinnacle of mascot technology.
Yes, the Yard Goats. Very funky. Dan, what's anything new with Dan other than you're just your late nights?
Watched the Crazy Super Smash Brothers tournament this weekend. Went rock climbing, working.
Yeah, living that extreme lifestyle.
It's really extreme.
Yep, it sure sounds.
I don't know. I'm not. I don't have all day to do fun stuff to talk about.
No,
Not all of us can afford that.
Dan, I hear you. Your life is monotonous. You're out there throwing axes, rock climbing, just the regular daily grind, just like the rest. Who wants to hear that?
I had to take out a grindstone to sharpen my axe the other day.
Yeah, there you go. Just like we all do. Boring.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any other banter we want to talk about, or should we just shuffle right along to?
Let's get shuffling.
Let's shuffle our way right down to the tech news. We've got some stories here in the rundown. Nintendo, Amazon, Facebook, Huawei. Guys, you get to choose. We've got quite a rundown here. I would say a medium amount of news this week, not a super hard hitting week. Mobile World Congress will be, I think, end of this month, early March, and we'll get a lot of new phone news, new Samsung phones coming out of there. What are they up to? S9, I think.
Wow.
And that'll be coming up. But for now, we've got the news that's in here. Where do you guys want to start?
All right. Sorry, I didn't even have it open.
Jesus.
I looked at the one with the Nintendo stuff.
Yes.
Cool.
Labo.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Labo?
I sure do.
Labo. Nintendo said they're coming out with a new way to play, and they weren't joking. They rolled out their new Labo, which I don't even know how to describe it. It's a toy, I guess. The way it works is it uses DIY cardboard accessories to work with your Switch's Joy-Con controllers to create sort of additional items you can use with your Switch. So what it is, you get a kit on there. I'll explain the versions of the kit in a second, but you get a kit with these sort of perforated cardboard sheets that are pre-cut out, and you punch out the cardboard, and you bend it, and you fold it, and you attach it, and some of them have strings and pulleys and things like that. And you actually build something with the cardboard. You insert the Joy-Con controllers into it, and it creates a whole new thing. You can make a little mini piano. You can make a fishing rod. You can make an RC-type car. And it integrates with a cartridge that comes with the cardboard. You plug it into your Switch, and you play the piano using the Switch, or you can go fishing using the fishing rod in the Switch. It comes in two varieties. There is the variety kit, which has 5 different games, RC car, fishing, piano, and a couple others, like I mentioned, for $69.99. And the robot kit, which is made up of a head visor and backpack and string and gloves and feet, and you wear it. Your kids wear it. And then when they move, they actually control a robot inside the Switch. And so it's like they're fighting and they're boxing using cardboard and string. It's quite neat. And that'll cost you $79.99. It goes on sale April 20th from Nintendo. I'll put up for those watching the video version, I will put up, as we're talking, a video here on the screen so you can kind of get a better idea. It's a little difficult to describe, but...
So, how does this piano thing work?
I don't know.
I was wondering about that too. Is there like some sort of sensor on the end of the Switch remote?
There's like an IR sensor.
So maybe
you stick those in the sides and it figures out which ones you're pressing down.
Yeah, by distance. Yeah,
that's crazy. And then you put them in like the little robot thing, and it vibrates the controller to have it walk around.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is kind of bananas.
Some of they look like pretty elaborate. Like these are I mean, it's cardboard and string, like you said, but it seems kind of legit.
Oh, and it comes with the instructions as a game on the Switch. So the instructions are animated. You can like move the bottles around, so you can try to figure out how you're supposed to put it together. That is pretty cool.
This is bonkers. This is crazy, and I wanted to hate it like immediately as soon as I saw it, because I'm just like because I'm jaded. I'm jaded, and I'm just bitter, and I'm old. And I saw this, and I'm like, frankly, as an adult, I want to do it, but if I were a kid, I would go nuts for this. Like, because I was big into Lego and Kinects and all that. Like, this is really neat. And I would have had such a blast playing with this.
Yeah, the only thing it's missing is some ability to like program your own things, to use the ideas they have here and make your own bits and bobs. Although maybe for like the little mouse that runs around, you could build whatever you want and stick 2 controllers on it and try to get it to move just by the controller vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm on board. I don't think I'm going to get it, though.
Yeah.
It's too much shit in my apartment already.
You're just generating waste and garbage at that point.
Yeah.
I get so much cardboard from Amazon, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
A couple of times
How long until there's some sort of bootleg version of this? Although I guess you have to buy it to get the game anyways.
Yeah. By the way, this article does point out how the piano works if you're curious. Apparently one of the Joy-Cons has a camera in it.
Oh, I thought it was an IR sensor. It's a whole camera?
And it says it can see the back of the keys, so it knows which ones you're pressing and relays it to the Switch, and their sound-modifying knobs as well. They have distinctive stripes that are associated with the sounds, so the camera can tell them apart.
Oh.
Wow.
Neat. Neato.
Yeah, so they say they plan to come out with more in the future. This is just what they're launching with for now. But this seems actually kind of like not crappy. Like you're like
that's how I would summarize the Switch. Not crappy.
Not crappy. Well, when I saw like just the headline and kind of the pictures of it, I'm like, oh, Nintendo is just like desperate in selling you crap. And I'm like, no, this is actually like kind of neat. And not more technology on top of more technology too, which is nice. I think it's good to mix it up. So, there you go, Nintendo Labo. April 20th, coming soon to a store near you. One down. What else we got?
Let's move right on to Amazon.
Right
on to Amazon.
Now, if we're going down the list, we'll jump in here. You may remember we talked previously about Amazon's looking to relocate its second headquarters somewhere on the East Coast. They asked for submissions. Over 200 cities submitted proposals from up and down the coast, including Mexico and Canada. Amazon has narrowed that search down to just 20 locations. Those finalists are Atlanta, Austin, Boston, Chicago, Columbus, Ohio, Dallas, Denver, Indianapolis, Los Angeles, Miami, Montgomery County, Maryland, Nashville, Newark, New York City, Northern Virginia, Pennsylvania, or Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Raleigh, Toronto, and Washington, D.C. Now,
all right, could this article have made that list any more difficult to read?
It's a little chunky. They could have bullet pointed those.
Yeah, that's my first comment. Second comment, Montgomery County, Maryland, and North Virginia, Virginia are names of cities?
No, they're regions, but I agree. You're right. That is
North Virginia, Virginia.
No, and I know why they
do you really have to specify North Virginia, Virginia?
Well, because a part of it is I do believe that there are actually like specific cities in those regions who applied. It's just cities you've never heard of. So they say Northern Virginia, so you at least have a loose idea of what part of Virginia they're talking about. Because they do have specific like sites recommended for these, so it's not just like we're going to put it somewhere in the top half of the state.
I wonder where the one in Boston is. I feel like I don't know that much about this, but the prospect of this, like, I assume these cities are like making like wacky concessions to Amazon to like try and entice them. And I mostly feel about this the way I felt about the prospect of the Olympics being in Boston, which is like, I'd rather not.
You're good. You're just gonna pass.
Right. It's like Boston's fine the way it is. Or at least fine without this sort of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, most of the proposals put out by these cities, the cities consider confidential. We do know a few of them. Newark's offered about $7 billion in tax breaks. Montgomery County, Maryland, about $5 billion. From everything I've read, the sort of front leaders among this group include Boston, Chicago. I read an article today that apparently there's a company that like you can hire them to tell you where to put your headquarters, and they would recommend Atlanta, so I guess that's got a good shot as well. And also, interestingly enough, 3 of these, as we mentioned, Montgomery County, Maryland, Northern Virginia, and Washington, D.C., are all roughly in the same area. Considering there are 3 cities there, maybe that gives it a better shot. So those are sort of your leaders, respectively, for the search. And only one outside the U.S., Toronto.
Toronto. I went there once. I went to Medieval Times in Toronto. It's pretty cool.
Is that why you went to Toronto?
No, it was for like a band competition, but...
Did you play at the Medieval Times?
Oh my god, I wish.
Like a medieval
we
band?
played at some like university music place or something, but we went to eat at Medieval Times after, and that was exciting.
Have you ever been back to Medieval Times since?
No, but I wish I had.
Oh wow! So you're ready. You're on board.
So if I understand,
I'm on board with a Medieval Times. Yeah.
Well, if I understand Colby, it's Amazon's $5 billion headquarters in Boston. No, thank you. Medieval Times in Boston. Yes, please.
Yeah. Do you have a Medieval Times in Boston?
I bet we don't, but I bet we could get a Medieval Times with a fraction of the tax break we could get an Amazon.
We'll give you a $500 tax break to build a Medieval Times in Boston.
Like which one of those like increases our well-being more? I don't know.
Now, but would Medieval Times be willing to come to Boston without an Amazon headquarters there? What if you had Yeah, what if you had to do the Amazon headquarters in order to get the medieval times?
That's the thing. Be like, I
no.
guess we'll let Amazon in if it means we can get a medieval times.
That's the Trump bargaining approach to this.
Well, in case you're curious, the closest medieval times to Boston is, I believe, Lyndhurst, New Jersey.
Yeah.
So, but there is one in Atlanta. So if they built and one in Chicago, so I guess Boston's not a real city. Doesn't have medieval times. But anyway, there you go. 50,000 jobs coming to one of these cities. Amazon says it plans to dive deeper into those proposals and evaluate whether those locations can actually support the plan. Do you guys want to take a stab at where you think they're going to go, or where they definitely won't go?
I feel like any of the ones out in the middle of nowhere is unlikely. So
Nashville,
yeah,
Denver,
Nashville,
Pittsburgh,
Columbus.
Pittsburgh's pretty unlikely.
Pittsburgh has Google offices and an Apple office there.
Doesn't Uber have a big office there too?
Yep. So I could see that one working. I mean, out in the middle of nowhere in terms of where, like, a workforce for, like, a general workforce for Amazon would be.
Indianapolis,
no. So I think possibilities in my mind are Atlanta, Austin, Boston, Chicago, maybe Dallas, Denver. I feel like if you're gonna have another headquarters, why bother like staying on the West Coast? So I'm gonna rule out Los Angeles, rule out Miami. The Northern Virginia thing / Washington D.C. seems plausible. I bet that New York won't get the main tax break, so we'll rule that out. Yeah, and Pittsburgh. So my guesses are Austin, Boston, Chicago, Denver, Pittsburgh, DC.
Yeah,
seems legit.
I think
maybe Newark if they're like, because that's still kind of close, and maybe they could like that would be pretty attractive for people who live in New Jersey. Not having to commute into New York would be nice.
Well, what's interesting is that one of their sort of big sticking points in trying to pick a city was that transit was big airports, big transit, and that's what interests me about places like you said, like Austin or Pittsburgh,
Chicago.
Or does Austin have really great public transportation? They got a small
I don't know
airport.
about right. I don't know about public transportation in general.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So that's why I would think, like you mentioned, Boston, Chicago, places, Washington D.C., places with more established transportation. I think would be even Atlanta, with their Mac Daddy of all airports. I think is they're all interesting choices, but it's going somewhere, so someone's getting it. But anyway, we'll wait and see. Stay tuned and don't panic for all the updates on this story as it develops.
We got one more Amazon story.
We do, and hey, folks may remember this. We talked about this a while back. Remember that convenience store Amazon was going to open where you didn't have to pay? You just walked in, took stuff, and left, and it knew it was you? Well, it's finally opening. Amazon Go, opening at their new headquarters on 7th Avenue in Seattle. It's about a year later than originally planned, but it's available now. Upon entering, you scan a barcode on your phone so they know you've entered the store. But after that, you're all on your own. You're greeted by a selection of salads, sandwiches, and beverages, as well as ready-to-eat meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinners. It also carries a small selection of beer and wine, although you do have to talk to somebody to get those, as well as produce, meat, and even Amazon's own meal kits, which we've also talked about on the show. They're sort of HelloFresh Blue Apron style meals you can pick up there as well. You'll also get some of Whole Foods. Their $3.65 everyday value brand will also be available there. You grab what you want off the shelf. You put them in your bag, and you automatically get charged as you walk out. No cashiers. The way it works is it uses a series of cameras and sensors that are placed all over the store to watch everything you do.
Did you see the picture of the line outside?
No, was
today?
it really long?
Yeah. It's like the irony of people going to a store where the whole point is you don't have to wait in any lines, waiting in line to get into that store.
That sounds about right. That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
This is in Seattle?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I read a different article about this that said that sort of featured how many cameras there are in the store.
Oh.
And there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a
lot of
Are there
cameras.
pictures?
there is a picture in the article I have in the rundown. I'll put it up on screen here, where they kind of point out where they are along the top, the top of the store. They're really meant to blend in. They don't really stick out too much, but there are a lot of them. I'm assuming watching every single square foot of that store.
Yeah. I think the article I read said that they're like sort of consumer grade cameras. Like they're not like sort of webcam grade cameras. They're not like particularly fancy or higher end, but they're wrapped. The box they're in is a custom like controller computer thing. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I'm on the fence. I mean, I kind of would just like a nice convenience store though. Like I don't really think cashiers are what's holding me up at a. Is that really that big of a deal?
No, yeah, at a grocery store at peak times, yes, that is what's holding me up. But no, not at like a bodega, which is what this kind of looks like.
And the other thing that, I try and be sensitive to these things, but there was an interesting article today that they don't accept SNAP benefits, food stamps more commonly referred to, nor do they accept cash. And essentially, there was an interesting article I read a while back. We should have talked about it on the show at some point, but about how sometimes intentionally, mostly not intentionally, but a lot of these neighborhoods that are moving strictly towards cashless payments are excluding homeless people, lower income people from essentially living in their neighborhoods. Simply because they can't buy things in the store because they don't accept cash.
I didn't know that was a thing you could do.
Not accept cash.
I guess there's what's stopping you from not doing that, but it just seems like there would be a rule like you have to take cash. I don't know.
And I think in my experience, it's always like bougie coffee shops that don't accept cash. Like I've never been to a restaurant that didn't accept cash, or like a regular store.
Right.
It sort of seems like as a business, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't accept cash, because that's like one transaction you can do, like where you don't have to like shell out 2% to whoever is skimming off the top of it.
Yep.
Right.
Like why wouldn't you? I mean, I get why like this Amazon store wouldn't, because that's the point or whatever. But for a normal business, it seems wacky to me. I don't know. I've heard of like Sweet Greens in Boston that don't accept cash. I've never been to one. Well, I've been to a Sweet Green, but I think it took cash. I don't know. I didn't try and pay with cash, so I don't know. Maybe
you have to try it and report back.
Yeah.
Colby's like, what is all this paper currency? What am I to do with this?
I wish my washer machine didn't accept cash, or more specifically, quarters.
Yeah, that would be nice.
You should yell at the washer company. Accept my fake virtual dollar. Do you accept Bitcoin?
The most recent 2 by Friday. If you were to have an initial coin offering, Sean, what would you be raising money for?
Don't panic.
No, fuck no. For my money. No, for me.
Panic coin.
Yeah. Sean coin. And I would use it to, buy stuff. I don't know.
I think this is going to happen eventually. Like, we should probably just do this ourselves. Like a website where you can like pay $10 and we'll create a cryptocurrency for you.
Yeah. Let's crypto.
Yeah. That's actually a pretty slick idea.
I'm going to look and see if that domain name's
I guarantee. Let's crypto.org.
Yeah, we don't register enough domains during this show. That's a good idea.
Let's crypto.online.
That's pretty good.
Let's
It's not a
crypto.net. Let's crypto.com.
No one puts a
Dot
dash.
.biz is .biz available? I saw it. There are companies that use those.
.biz is available.
Yeah.
Legit.
If there was a .com, I would have bought it already.
We'll get them next time.
What is on let'sencrypt.com? Just parked?
Let's see.
While you're looking that up, I'm gonna, unless we have any other thoughts on Amazon Go, I'll move on to our next story.
Well, I have my idea. What I would do an initial coin offering for
Okay.
is I learned today about how professional poker works.
Mm-hmm.
So professional poker, you have to like buy into, I don't know what the phrase is. You have to front money that you're sort of betting.
Yep.
Yeah, Let's Crypto is totally a thing. Buy in to play the game. So I'm not very good. So, right. If I'm going to just scam people out of money, I feel like I would do that and then enter the World Series of Poker with my ICO earnings. But the idea is all the money that I make goes back into the cryptocurrency, and like you have a share of my earnings, so I'm not going to win anything. So it would just be a way for me to go play at the World Series of Poker.
But then, so basically,
You look confused. You look.
Okay,
It
first of
seems
all-
to me like you don't think this plan makes sense.
no, first of all, I don't think cryptocurrencies make sense. I don't understand any of it. And second of all, so basically, if I understand this, people are just buying stock in Dan
Yeah.
Miller's poker career.
Yep. Exactly.
Pass.
People do this right now. It's just not on the blockchain. So you know how
It's
good
just
it
not
can be.
unnecessarily complicated, is what you're saying. It's too simple right
Exactly. Coming from the guy who asked us to make the website unnecessarily complicated just 30 minutes ago.
now. Yeah, that's totally the same thing, Dan. Totally. Hey, can you just add can you just duplicate a feature you already have but tweak it slightly versus create a whole fake currency to buy stock in Dan's World Series
Sean,
of Poker career?
That's exactly what all the ICOs are. They're just like
Copy
duplicating a thing that already exists
Oh,
and tweaking
no.
it slightly.
Oh, man.
Oh man. Yeah.
You know what I do
What
love,
about
though?
what about Let's in Crypto?
Oh no! You know what you know what I do love though? I do love all the news stories about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin that use that same piece of stock photography of the coin with the B on it that looks like it's a real coin even though it's not a real coin. I always
Do you like
get a
that,
kick out of
Sean?
I do. I get a kick out of that because it doesn't make any sense.
We could get into the selling physical bitcoins racket. That'd be fun.
Sure. Like certificates, just certificates, like real cheap.
Right, not even coins.
No,
You just
God, no.
print- we'll just print them out.
Let'sInCrypto.com is available.
Sold.
Oh man.
Buy that shit. Snap it up. And they say all the good domains are gone.
I haven't bought a domain in so long. I'm kind of jonesing now that I think about it.
Let'sInCrypto.mom.
Let's encrypto.pizza.
Is there a Let's Encrypto.poker? That
Okay.
could be your domain for your.
Yeah, Dan. Why all of a sudden do you want to play poker? Are you good at poker?
No. I'm not. Not that I know of. Maybe I'm actually amazing at poker. But I learned today that that's how people fund their entry into the World Series of Poker. And I thought, what better way to like waste a couple $1 million than to have an ICO and then go play with no experience in the World Series of Poker?
I guess that's
That's
pretty
how
good.
that's
Yeah.
how you see the celebrities on the TV for that, because they just plunk down their $500,000 and
true.
neither here nor there for them. But the professionals, they're not paying for it out of pocket. They have investors who are going to take a cut of their earnings.
Yeah, but then so wait, did you then use the fake coins to buy in? Like, how? The
The value of my currency is tied to how well I do at the poker
No,
tournaments.
but I don't understand what money you use to buy into the tournament.
People pay for the coins, right? People pay Dan real money
but
for
then,
Dan
But then
dollars.
doesn't Dan then have to sell the coins to someone else to get the cash to buy into the tournament? Or are you supposing the World Series people take the fake coins?
Cash.
So why don't you just take cash from people? I don't get why you need the coins. This is crazy. This is so unnecessary. Like I could give you a stack of cash, or you can take the stack, put it in a box, send it to Antarctica, and then they'll mail it to me.
Here's the difference between a Dan dollar and a stack of cash is that a stack of cash's value is relatively static. You have no idea what the value of a Dan dollar is.
So you've taken something
even
predictable and made it insanely volatile for no reason. I love it. This is great. You just encapsulated this whole cryptocurrency thing for me in so that's how it works. It's just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yep. Oh dear.
Anyway, where were we?
Dan dollars.
Dan dollars. Get yours too. We're looking for investors, so please give us your money. We've got time for another news story. We've got Facebook picking the news. We've got Huawei No Way. We've got Facebook's watch party.
I feel like we should do the Facebook news thing because we talked about it so much on the show earlier.
We sure can. Facebook, we talked last week about them tweaking the news feed. The second part of that is how do you determine what a quality and trustworthy news source is? Facebook's going to let you decide. Let's see here. Zuckerberg said, quote, "There's too much sensationalism, misinformation, and polarization in the world today. That's why it's important that the news feed promotes high-quality news that helps build a sense of common ground. However, Facebook did not want to use itself or consult outside experts. They ultimately felt it was going to be the community that would decide the most credible news sources that are the most broadly trusted." Now, this isn't anything necessarily new. It will be part of the existing, I don't think I've ever seen one, but Facebook's existing quality surveys. It's just they're adding questions to it that'll ask whether or not they're familiar with a news source and whether or not they trust it. And then over time, they'll collect that data and use it. Now, they say you won't necessarily see less news. Instead, you'll just see news from different places. You'll still see the same quantity. They'll only shift the balance of the news you see towards sources that are determined to be trusted by the community. Now, guys, let me ask you this. Is this a bad idea or a terrible idea?
This is exactly what I suggested. I remember
This
this
was
conversation.
Dan's idea.
And we know Zuckerberg's a big
Just like
fan of the
Windows
show.
7, this was my idea. Yeah, like it's social. What's the Google thing called? PageRank. It's social PageRank.
Yeah.
Do trustworthy people find this news source trustworthy, and how many do?
Yeah, but you sort of lost it with the second word of your sentence, which was trustworthy people.
Yeah.
Who are trustworthy people?
Trustworthy.
Is that Facebook has statistics on their side, right? Like they can show this to 300 million people, and on average, are 300 million people more trustworthy than untrustworthy? Probably. I don't know.
This is my point.
Yeah, 10 of those people work at Breitbart, right? But they're I don't know, flawed opinion is theoretically, or biased opinion, I guess.
Here's the thing, Sean. If a statistically significant group of people can't decide within some margin of error whether something is a news source on the whole, not a specific story, but just the reputation of a news source is generally good or bad, then we're totally screwed. There's nothing we can do. There's no computer algorithm or anything that will save us.
But that's my point.
It's all just going to go down in flames. So this is the only option.
Is it?
What's the other option?
Rewinding the tape and either Facebook deciding itself or consulting outside experts. I honestly think that is a better option than this, and here is why. Because, and again, I'm not. Hey, look, I'm not one to judge, right? Fox News is the most watched news on television today, okay? And I also saw a recent study that found, what was it? It was a reputable polling source, and they polled, geez, I wish I remembered all the details. It was something like, anyway, it was something like 80% of people said if they didn't understand a news source, then it was fake. It was like this terrible statistic that said people just generally don't trust news anymore. And it was a large portion of the population. My other problem I have is that not everyone in the world is on Facebook. Facebook is its own audience, okay? And I would just be, I hope Facebook is smart enough to be able to parse this data. And I doubt they're just going to take it raw and say, okay, of 100% of people surveyed, 43% did this. I think they're going to do more breakdowns in that, and you're introducing bias right there anyway, because then how do you determine, okay, Facebook's audience probably skews a little younger. Okay, well, how does that match up with an older audience who has different news trustworthy sources? They're not fairly... It's just this... I just think it's just making it more complicated than it needs to be. Like, I don't... Just pick 10 news sources Facebook considers trustworthy. New York Times, Washington Post. I honestly, and I know... I'm just saying, just because the people believe something to be true doesn't make it true. Bam.
Yeah.
Rule with an iron fist is what I am saying. Facebook does not need to be independent.
Well, no, but...
Let the market decide. What are people going to do? Leave Facebook and go where? MySpace? Absolutely not. If people don't like it, too bad. They have to stop being on the sidelines and get in the game. Facebook.
But how many people are they going to employ doing this? And then I think you run the risk of, I think one bad actor in that scenario could cause a lot more damage than one bad actor in this scenario.
And they tried that, right? Trending stories, and they had an issue with this, and that it came out that there was bias in that team. I don't disagree with that. Here's what I'm saying. Facebook isn't saying they're going to stop showing news that's untrustworthy. They haven't said that. They said they just want to tilt the balance and not adjust the amount, just tilt the balance. Just pick 10 or 15 sources that are considered generally trustworthy. Things that experts would mostly agree on. And I don't think that's a crazy theory.
But then I think that that's a different product experience than you clicking on a news story and getting interstitial saying, this is an untrustworthy news source. You can't do that for everything that's not your 10 blessed news sources. If you do the 10 blessed approach. Then how do they even know what a trustworthy news source is as a user? You get a higher amount of like Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, et cetera, things, but they can't call Joe Schmo's website .pizzabox untrustworthy because they have no way of knowing.
Yeah, but they're not saying they're going to do that, though.
Isn't that what they're saying?
No, they're just saying they're going to show you, they're going to shift the balance of the news you see towards sources that are determined to be trusted by the community. They have not said they will flag something as untrustworthy.
I thought for sure I saw that.
Now, there was a separate story where they were doing a separate test in other countries.
Disputed.
Yes, where they would flag specific stories, not news sources, if I understand correctly. It was only specific stories, though you could correct me on that were in dispute. And from what I've read, that test did not go well. It actually might have ended up showing people more fake news. So I agree with you there. I think that's a whole nother ball of crazy once you start flagging things as being bad or wrong, rather than showing somebody things that are considered more accurate or correct.
All right, I agree with you, Sean.
Yay! I finally won one of these. Hey!
See, so I think this article is talking about could solve the like clickbait, sensational, like ad farm type of news stories, right? Like, because the important thing is, like, there's two questions, right? One is, have you ever heard of this?
Yep.
And the second is, which is a more objective question, right? Like, I feel like lots of people, many people will probably answer that, like, honestly, because why not, right? Like, have you ever heard of, like, Joe Schmo's pizzanews.com? Like, no, I haven't heard of that.
Is that domain available? Joe Schmo's Pizza News. Yeah.
Which, if that's true, right? If people do, like, answer that honestly, like, that solves a whole lot of the problem, right? Because, like, the second question, like, do you find this trustworthy? I can imagine lots of people see that question. They say, well, I think, do I agree with the view that this article is presenting? And that answer, right? The answer to that question is, like, perhaps compromised. So it doesn't solve right. Like, it doesn't help with the fake articles or inaccurate articles thing, but I would hypothesize that out of this, you would see, like, your 15 or 20 or 25 or 30 news sources that, like, everyone knows of, right? Like, whatever you think of it, like, most people in America have probably heard of the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal, right? And that's probably, like, super useful information.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I think more people need to see news, and I don't want Facebook to stop people from. I think there should be news, and I think whether people get it from, as long as it's good news, the accurate news, right? As long as it's not bad news. People whether they see it on Facebook or on their TV or in a newspaper, I don't really care. So I think, Colby, you're right. I think it's very important. I'm glad they're asking these questions, and I think, for me, the ideal scenario is two things. One, they publicly release this data. I think would be very good and very interesting and very important in a very transparent way. And I think on the other side, I think it shouldn't directly influence the algorithm, but rather be combined with a series of factors to determine how they use. I think if they just take the data and then just raw plug it in and say, look, because someone said it was trustworthy and they've heard of it, we're going to put in people's feeds. I think they need to be more nuanced than that. I think there needs to be some thought behind how they use the data, but I'm glad they're asking. And I think it'll yield some interesting results, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine it would be, like, particularly unnuanced, right? Like, the things you see in newsfeed, you don't just randomly see shit in newsfeed, right? Like, it's, something like a page that your friends like or whatever, like, whether that's a good indicator of,
well, that's what it is.
Right.
But
if it's a story from a page that two of your friends like, but no one on Facebook has ever heard of it, maybe, like, that's a thing they can be, like, tossed aside.
Well,
right?
and yeah, that's the difference between Colby liking a New York Times article and Dan liking an article from Joe Schmo's pizzareview.biz. That's which one shows up in my feed.
Indeed.
And that's important. Cool.
Yeah. I agree with Sean.
Dan, I'm going to put that on the dust jacket of my book. Can I directly quote you? I agree with Sean.
Yeah. That's
Dan
my what do they call those? Accolades? What are the things in the beginning?
On a movie poster they'd call it a pull quote, is because they usually pull it from a longer review.
Right.
Dan Miller says, I agree with Sean. 5 stars.
Dan Miller raves. I agree with Sean.
I agree with you. Yeah. That should have been the episode title. Dan Miller raves. I agree with Sean. But anyhow.
I think we had another good one, but I don't remember what it was. I should be right.
Joe Schmo's pizzareview.com.
No, Let's in Crypto.
Yes, Let's in Crypto. Alrighty. Well, what's the clock say? The clock says we can either touch super briefly on more news or move on to picks.
Let's pick it.
Pick it. You got it. Part of the show, we do picks. If you haven't listened to the show before, every week we come in with some stuff we like to share with the world, what we're enjoying. Seems like we got a lot of media picks this week, which is exciting because we're always looking for new things to watch and listen to.
We have plenty of time for all of that, I'm sure, each of us, especially, Colby
Oh, I know. I again, how this man has more things to listen to.
Fixing the website, yeah.
It's staggering. He must. Do you like run it in? Do you believe in the osmosis theory where you run it in your sleep and you're just listening while you're sleep? Is that what it's just on 24 hours a day?
No, that's basically how it works when I'm working and listening to podcasts. But I don't listen to them in my sleep. I do usually run out of podcast content to consume.
I listen to like 5 podcasts and I'm already falling behind.
That's it?
No, it's more than that. But I am falling behind. Actually, I shouldn't tell you what show I'm falling behind on because I'll get some flack for it. I may be a couple weeks behind on a certain challenge yourself, challenge each other.
Oh no!
I know. Shame on me.
Do it by Friday,
and they're still getting my fucking money. So I really need to start listening. Anyway, my pick. I've got a podcast. I'm gonna jump in and go first because I'm at the top of the list here for no apparent reason. And I got a podcast. I don't think I've picked this one on the show before. Doughboys. This is a fun one. A cool idea for a podcast. They review chain restaurants. So every week they take a guest out to various chain restaurant, usually in the Los Angeles area, but they've got every restaurant out in Los Angeles. So they've done all the big guys. The most recent one they did Carl's Jr., but they go back. It's hosted by 2 really great comedians, Mike Mitchell, Nick Weiger. Mike Mitchell, who was part of The Birthday Boys, which is a great sketch show. They did 2 seasons of it. It's on Netflix. I think I've picked it on the show before. And that's where I know him from, and I learned he was doing the show. These guys are very funny. The episodes are a little long. They're like an hour and a half, hour, 40 minutes, so they're a little long, but very funny. They have very funny guests on. It's all sort of improv comedy folks that do the show, and they're really enjoyable. I get a kick out of it, so who knows? Maybe you will too. They used to be part of the Feral Audio, which was a podcast network until their founder had all kinds of sexual harassment problems, and now they're independent, so they don't have a good domain. But you can get them at doughboys.libsyn.com, but you can just search Doughboys wherever you get your podcasts, and the link will be on our website. So, comedy, funny, talking about chain restaurants, enjoyable show. Let's see. How about let's stick with podcasts, Colby. What do you got for us?
Yeah. So mine's the Indicator podcast from Planet Money. It's a lot like Planet Money, but it's like 5 minutes long and it comes out like 2 or 3 times a week. That's basically the best way I can describe it. It's like a tiny current events based like economics FYI. And I don't know, it's good. If you like Planet Money, you definitely like this. And it's nice. I like very like short podcasts in like the very beginning of the morning. I enjoy that. Like little rundown things that I can digest before my coffee has brewed and I'm not quite a functional human being. So I found it helpful. Like they talk about things like debt ceilings and stuff like that. That is topical, in the news, I guess. So if that sounds interesting to you, check it out. It's called The Indicator.
Dope. That's pretty cool. NPR.org. Again, we'll have the link on the website. Sweet. All right, Dan. And you've got something that I guess you could listen to as a podcast if you extracted the audio, and probably wouldn't be as good.
No, it wouldn't be as good. So I guess like a month ago, the new season of Peaky Blinders came out, and I watched it, and after I finished it, I thought, man, I really want to watch a TV show with English accents. And I don't want to watch Downton Abbey because it's too sad. Spoiler alert. So I need something else. And I heard a lot about the TV show The Queen on Netflix, so I gave it a shot. And if you're a fan of this sort of age we live in, of like period everything and the like immaculate costumes and the beautiful cinematography and the crazy title sequences, then The Queen's going to have all of that and some crazy awesome British accents. And you learn like a lot of interesting history things, kind of like you can get in Peaky Blinders a little bit too. Like the sort of the smaller events that you don't really hear about. And like Peaky Blinders, it covers a period of English history. Like I feel like in America, we hear a lot about World War II English history, but I don't really know what happened like directly after World War II in England. So this sort of gets into that. So check out The Queen on the Netflix.
It's called The Crown.
The Crown. Sorry, did I really call it The Queen the whole time?
Yeah.
Damn.
Alas, it feels right. I mean, it is
It
about
does
the
feel
Queen. To be fair,
There might have been a show called The Queen. Now that I think about it, they might have done that.
You know what that means? This entire time, despite the awesome title sequence, I've thought that it was The Queen.
The Queen. Nope. It's not
That's
about.
why you're trying to interrupt me, Colby.
It's not about the woman. It's about the position.
Thanks, man.
you're welcome.
Trying to watch out for me, and I didn't let you.
Oh boy.
Just powered ahead.
Yeah.
Now we're fake
That's-
news.
Yeah.
Damn. Now someone's gonna
Oh,
downrate
so
us on
much for it.
Facebook.
Yeah, we're disputed.
Yeah, man. Can you believe people would think we don't know what we're talking about? Crazy. Sweet. All right. Well, that's it for picks, and that means the end of the show. Because we're gonna wrap it up here. So, gosh, I think it's been quite a fun hour. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. Of course, you should go to our great website that we've talked so much about. That has been worked so hard upon. Don'tPanic.io. Gaze upon its glory. Get all our episodes there, audio and video, and also the picks. Links to all the picks for all the episodes are there as well. So check it out. Be sure to subscribe to the program. It's the best way to get it on YouTube at youtube.com/Don'tPanicShow for the video. And the audio, I saw maybe one of you guys, I don't know who reshared it. Someone on Twitter said you shouldn't say on your podcast, find us wherever you get your podcasts. Because you're excluding people who've never listened to podcasts before and don't know how to get podcasts. Which I thought was good advice, but then I also said if they're hearing me say it, then they had to have gotten the podcast somehow. So I was a little torn.
Tricky.
And
I mean, they could have just gone to the website, right? They could hear
could
it
have.
on the website or
They-
YouTube.
Our wonderful website.
That's right. So I'll split the difference and say you can get our podcast wherever you get your podcast currently, and if you don't have a place, you can get it at our preferred method at Overcast, overcast.fm, or in your local app store. That is going to do it. I guess I'll just quickly remind everybody, GameNights.tv is where we play Dungeons & Dragons, and UpForDebate.tv is where Matt and I talk about nonsense. We're off this week on Up for Debate, but in 2 weeks we will be talking about our Super Bowl prop bets. It's a can't-miss episode, so that'll be coming up. Tease that. And we're doing a fun little, I don't want to call it an experiment, we're doing a fun little show element now at GameNights.tv where myself, Dan, and Matt are each hearing little pieces of the same story where we were all knocked unconscious. And now we're waking up at different times, seeing different things, but each other doesn't know what we're hearing, and so it's kind of a little fun experiment. Matt's side is already out. My side is going to be coming out later this week. So that was a great time to join in and listen. GameNights.tv. Anything else, gentlemen?
I'm all set. I'm gonna go watch the Crown.
Sweet. Well, be sure to come back next time. We'll have our Super Bowl picks, which you can't miss. On next week's episode. We'll be back next Monday. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. On behalf of Colby and Dan, this is Sean saying we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time for more tech news here on Don't Panic.
Bye.